Hey everybody, my name's Greg Howard. I'm co-founder of TrenLot, makers of Crew Builder, proactive project and resource management for construction. So if you are a subcontractor or general contractor that manages your own crews, we definitely want to talk to you. So we actually started Crew Builder based off of a custom project that we had done for a construction company in California. And we saw firsthand literally the waste and labor that was going on, unfortunately. I mean, these guys would literally line up for almost an hour every day to get issued a piece of paper that had their work instructions on it, as well as their daily and time card. This obviously generated just a tremendous amount of file of papers. I mean, some of these files were over a foot thick. And if you can imagine trying to go back and find sort of that needle in a haystack piece of information that you need to do for something that may involve a lawsuit, good luck. It really is challenging. So the digitization process is super important moving forward, especially now with everything going on with the pandemic and COVID-19 and new guidance from OSHA. But we also saw that a lot of folks in the industry were using Excel. While Excel is one of the greatest applications in the world, it's not necessarily the best thing for, say, scheduling crews. And the reason for that is that the scheduler generally has to have that institutional knowledge in their head and knowing which people have the right certifications and experience to design and assemble and schedule a crew. So we saw those as being problematic. And the biggest problem that we saw was this disconnection between project management and resource management. So this is just a simple infographic of sort of a custom construction project flow where you get, there's a prime contract and there's agreements and subcontracts, but project management and resource management, where project management you have estimating, scheduling, procurement, all those things. Then resource management, those boots on the ground, right, in a distributed environment with labor and materials and managing other subs and equipment as well. So this is where we saw this disconnection really occurring a lot. This is where those things fall through the gap because resources weren't scheduled or adapted to, really the changing, chaotic construction site. So it's problematic. So really we saw a lot of inefficiencies and waste. And that one example, 23 crews, each crew costing about $140 an hour. That was about $5,000 a day that they were losing. And if you add that up, that's, $1.2 million a year. That's, I don't care who you are, that's a lot of money. So these guys are experiencing some significant challenges, figuring out the new normal. We talked about COVID. Other folks talked about COVID as well today. But it's true. I mean, you really need to enable project managers to be able to manage any construction project from anywhere at any time. So remote workers and sort of dealing with the new normal and figuring out the new normal. You need the tools to be able to figure out what that uncertainty and deal with uncertainty and overcome it. There's still a lack of skilled labor in our industry, so building a way to track skills and experience and create programs to onboard new folks to bring them up to speed and useful is a challenge. And so we obviously do some of that too. But one of the things that we were beginning to be asked for is, how do we track these extra time for COVID, right? So with OSHA, there's more time it takes for safety briefings, there's social distancing, there's schedule conflicts, there's all kinds of stuff that just take more time. And so being able to track that time on a job site, on a project is something that we do as well. That's important. Our solution, obviously, the value driven by Crew Builder. So, I mean, we think we could save at least $105,000 per year. That's pretty low. For us, a low bar to meet or beat. But generally, you got 3 or more crews, we can certainly help you out. But we built Crew Builder based off of 4 core areas. One we call field-friendly AI. I mean, this is just, we use natural language processing to basically, identify what the user's trying to say or asking for, right? And then we map those to system resources. So if somebody says, hey, what am I supposed to do today? We could tell them, hey, here's a link to your dashboard or a link to your daily to what you're supposed to do. But it also serves as a really important way to interface with and engage the user of the system so that they can just ask it, how they're supposed to do something, and not sort of hunt down some obscure documentation somewhere. So just to, make sure that it's easy for people to say, hey, how do I add a skill or how do I start a project? They could go to it right then and there. So thinking schedules are just that. We design those to make sure that you get the right person, the right experience and credentials to the right place at the right time with the right tools or materials. That's a lot of rights to get correct. Any one of those that are off, you're either going to, you're going to burn time and delay and both burn money. So projects go over and proactively managing those budgets are super important. So the real-time 360 dashboards literally are just that, looking at the financial health of the budget of a construction project, and then understanding, resources, where they're at and what they're costing and where they're scheduled. Always being able to compare plan to actual is super important, but it's not just in terms of a budget, it's in terms of whatever those metrics are. So if it's in hours for crew hours, or if it's in hours for people, or if it's in, equipment hours, whatever it is, you can basically manage it in the most usable, digestible way for you. And of course, the last area that we got sort of one of our core areas is in capacity planning. So understanding, what resources you have, what resources are dedicated to specific construction projects, and that allows you to map out, what you have committed to and then what you don't have committed to, so that you can either grow and add resources as you need them, whether it be people or equipment. But in this time, of course, looking at uncertainty, you may need to scale your organization downward in headcount. And this is the ability to give you a clear picture of what you need to be able to do that, or at least plan for it. This is just quick dashboard shot. So just to understand, our goal is for a project manager to hit this on their project and to be able to see where they're at any given time. So this is a drywaller, and you can look at cost to date, what the work in progress is, what they're going to bill for, see how their margins are. On this one, their costs, they went over a little bit, but we also do things like allow you to track the project in whatever discipline and whatever metric that you sort of find as a project manager best to continually estimate the project on. So being a good project manager means you're continually estimating what's left to be done on the project. And people don't necessarily always think in hours. Jim's right. Or think in just terms of budgets. Jim's right. They look at hours, they look at equipment hours, they look at crew hours. It just depends on the organization. These guys actually think in hours, and so we can allow them to see where they're at with the budget and be able to deal with that. Just a little, sort of a little deeper dive into the weeds. We call them objectives. Other people call them tasks and other things, but it's really the work that needs to be done. And for us, this is looking at what was estimated in terms of hours and versus what was actually consumed. So we constantly are looking at the budget in terms of whatever the resource is and resource metric is, but also what the cost of those are. And so if I as a project manager can see that they went 2 hours over, big deal, but I went an hour and a half over on project management. But this is a tool to be able to design to give those project managers insight into what's coming up. So let's just say that they're only 50% done, but they've already burned through 50 hours. That's a huge problem. This allows you to see those things coming up so that you can address them proactively to make sure that you're not doing these significant labor overruns. Super important. But they're also used for communicating with crews to say, hey, we have this goal of meet or beat 50 hours for this objective, and if you meet it or beat it, then you get some reward, some incentive, maybe it's a $50 tool card or something to that effect. But there's something there that you can track, and that scales with this dashboard. This dashboard again was designed so that a project manager can see where they're at financially on a project, so that they can stay on track and stay on budget. So we designed CrewBuilder to sort of be sort of end-to-end, if you will, to include all or most of the project cycle, depending on the type of project that it is. But estimates are super important to us because they become the project budget, and you have to be flexible enough. So an estimator may be different than the project manager. The estimate turns into the budget, but that budget is sort of malleable, right? So the project manager can look at the project, see it, and then move things around in that budget to make sure that they can accomplish what they feel they need to. And if there's some discrepancy or significant difference between the estimate and what they think the project can be executed with, that opens up a dialogue between the two so that they can correct it as soon as possible. So we designed this from the field up. Absolutely. Construction, much like the military, you have to operate in a distributed environment. And in operating in that distributed environment, communications is absolutely key. So we designed this. We spent time in the field with crews. We made sure that this is engaging to them so that they can use it really easily. That information that comes from the field is critical for project managers to see, whether it be the hours, the communications, the issues that come up, super important. We designed a lot of sort of self-healing and self-correcting systems so that time cards are a good example, or crew cards and dailies. So something comes in that's out of whack. Let's just say they expected something to take 6 hours and it takes 12. And that shows up right on the PM's dashboard that they'll be able to see. And they open up a dialogue saying, hey, why'd this take 12 hours instead of 6. And there may be a good reason. Maybe there's a COVID issue where they had to keep people out and wait 6 hours to get their stuff done. Or maybe there's not a good reason. So it's opening up that dialogue for the self-correcting loops. It's super important to be able to make sure that things don't fall through the gaps. And again, automation is key to what we do. And everything, you want to be able to gather that information as automatically as possible, and so that's distributed throughout the entire system. And so there's no double entry, which obviously is painful. People generally don't do it, or there's mistakes that happen. We got a lot of good folks on our team, guys that experts at designing user interfaces to make them engaging and easy to use, and we're getting really good feedback on that. So some of what our customers are saying, CrewBuilder saves us money with efficient estimating, scheduling, and project management. True. CrewBuilder provides clarity on project information that could otherwise be overlooked or forgotten. Super important to catch things that fall through the gap. Those costs, if you're waiting 30 days for a QuickBooks report to come back on how viable or how profitable a project is, it's way too late to be making decisions on that. Super important. CrewBuilder shows profit and losses daily, giving PMs the ability to manage projects better. This is really proactively managing a project budget. And it's not just in dollar terms, it's in resource terms, whether it be by the hour or by the day, whatever it may be. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.